To the world, Ted Knight was the lovable buffoon, the pompous, self-absorbed anchorman Ted Baxter from The Mary Tyler Moore Show, or the hilariously uptight Judge Smails in Caddyshack. His timing, his charm, that perfect mix of arrogance and cluelessness made America laugh for decades. But behind the laughs and applause, behind the signature grin and booming laugh, was a man wrestling with something much darker, a side that even those closest to him rarely saw until it was too late. Ted Knight, the comedian who made a generation smile, was, in truth, a deeply conflicted man carrying the scars of a lifetime of insecurity, trauma, and self-doubt. Those who knew him best say that the man who played lovable fools on screen often turned cold, controlling, and even cruel when the cameras stopped rolling. His journey from a working-class kid in Connecticut to Hollywood stardom wasn't paved with luck. It was built on relentless ambition, and that ambition came at a cost. Friends recall how Ted, once a kind and humble actor struggling to make ends meet, changed after fame finally came knocking in his late 40s. Years of rejection had hardened him, and the sudden adoration turned into obsession, with control, with perfection, with respect. On set, Ted was known to erupt in anger over missed cues or unscripted lines, sometimes belittling younger actors who didn't meet his standards. Crew members whispered that his famous temper wasn't just an act, it was the real Ted bubbling to the surface. Yet, in a tragic twist, that very darkness was what made his comedy so magnetic. He understood pompousness because he'd battled it himself. He portrayed insecurity so brilliantly because he lived with it daily. Behind the scenes, though, Ted's home life suffered. His children would later describe him as distant, a father who demanded excellence, but rarely gave affection. His wife, Dorothy, stayed by his side through his most difficult years, often smoothing over the damage his temper caused in professional and personal circles. Yet, despite the turmoil, there was a tenderness buried beneath that tough shell. Those same who worked with him later said that when Ted let his guard down, he was generous, deeply funny, and desperate to be loved. Fame had given him validation, but it never gave him peace. The contradiction between Ted's on-screen humor and his off-screen torment fascinated Hollywood for years. Some said he was method acting his pain away. Others believed he simply didn't know who he was without the mask of comedy. His greatest role, Ted Baxter, mirrored his real-life fear. That deep down, people only laughed at him, never with him. As the years went on, illness began to strip away his strength, and with it, his walls. When he was diagnosed with cancer in the early 1980s, colleagues noticed a change. The rage and perfectionism faded, replaced by gratitude and humility. He began reaching out to those he had hurt, sending handwritten letters of apology and reflection. On one note to a former co-star, he wrote, "If I ever made you feel small, it's because I was trying to make myself feel tall." That single line captured the entire contradiction of Ted Knight, the bully who only lashed out because he felt invisible. In his final days, Ted reportedly spent hours with his family, laughing, telling stories, and confessing regrets about time lost to anger and pride. When he passed away in 1986, tributes poured in not just for the comedian, but for the complex, wounded soul behind the laughter. America had fallen in love with his larger-than-life characters, but few ever realized how much of his real pain was hidden inside them. Today, his legacy remains bittersweet, proof that the people who make us laugh the hardest often carry the deepest scars. Ted Knight's story is a reminder that comedy can be both a gift and a shield, and that behind every joke may lie a man simply begging to be understood.